Hello, my dear students. Welcome back to our English class. Already we learned Term 3, Unit 1 poem, Sea Fever. This poem is a memory poem. It's a memoriter, so please memorize all the lines of this poem. Already we discussed about this poem that the theme of this poem are adventures and memories. So the speaker, who is the author of this or the poet of this poem? John Masefield. He says that he hears the calls of nature, an irresistible invitation to exploration, adventure, and jubilant life. He desires to break out of his present situation and return to the adventurous life of the sea. So he wants to go to the sea and he wants to have a tall ship and have a jubilant life on the sea. So all the explanations have given to you last week itself. Today let us see what are the poetic devices used in this poem. Let us know what are poetic devices. Poetic devices are the form of literary device used in poetry. A poem is created out of poetic devices composite of structural, grammatical, rhythmical, verbal, and visual elements. They are the essential tools that a poet uses to create rhythm and enhance a poem's meaning or intensify a mood or feeling. So, the poet, if he wants to write a poem, he has to convey the meaning. So, how he would convey? Using the poetic devices only. Let us see in detail what are the poetic devices, and in detail, let us see a few poetic devices first. But there are many. Let us see few poetic devices. There are 6 poetic devices which you have to know compulsorily, children. First one, poetic device playing with sound, related to sound. First one, alliteration. Alliteration means to use the same sound over and over again. So use of the sounds, that is the consonant sounds used in the phrase or in the sentence in the poem again and again. You have to see the first letter of the words. Second poetic device is rhyme, using words that sound alike. So already we learned the rhyming scheme used in this poem: sky, by, knife, life, rover, over. Third one, onomatopoeia, a word that sounds like the word it represents, like boom or bang. The sound represents or the word describes the sound. Okay. Next one, poetic device playing with meaning. The fourth poetic device which you are going to learn is personification. It means giving human feelings to something that is not alive. Fifth poetic device is metaphor, comparing two things without using the words like or as. We usually use the word like or as to compare two objects or things or anything, but here you should not use those two words, but you have to compare two subject and the object, or the two subjects, whatever it may be. The last and final poetic device is called simile, comparing two words using the words like or as. Here compulsorily for simile you should see for the words like and as in the sentence. Then you can easily identify that this poetic device is simile. Are you all ready, children, to learn the poetic devices? Yes. First one, as I already taught you about alliteration. Alliteration can be defined as a series of words occurring close together in the phrases or lines of poetry that have the same first consonant sound. So the consonants you already know that except A, E, I, O, U, all the 21 letters are called as consonants. So the 5 letters are vowels: A, E, I, O, U. Here you have to keep in mind that you have to see only the consonant sounds. Okay, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. Here you could see that ship starts with the letter S, which is a consonant. Star, S, is a consonant, and steer, S, is a consonant. You can also say that this alliteration, here the letters of the consonants are repeated, hence we say it as a consonance also. Second one is called assonance. Assonance is the repetition of the vowel sound across words within the lines of the poem, creating internal rhymes. Examples of assonance across words include crying time. Here you have to see for the vowel sounds A, E, I, O, U. Crying time, I sound, cry, I sound, time, I sound. Hopscotch, O sound you can hear. Great flakes, A sound. Between trees, E sound. Kind night rides by. Kai, I sound, night, I sound, rides, I sound, and by, I sound. Here you have to see for the vowel sounds. That's why it is called as assonance. And in the alliteration, you have to see for the consonant sounds. I hope you understood these two poetic devices, children. The third poetic device which we are going to learn is called metaphor. Metaphor is a common poetic device where an object in or the subject of a poem, I'm sorry, it's not poem, it's poem, is described as being the same as another otherwise unrelated object. Here you could see that the example given is and a grey mist on the sea's face. Here the sea's face is compared to the grey mist. Okay, so it's an object. Okay, it's an object which has been uh, similarly compared to unrelated object. How can a sea's face be compared with the grey mist? Okay, so here there is a comparison between the grey mist and the sea's face. On the sea's face, the moon was a ghostly galleon tossed upon cloudy seas. Here, the moon is compared to the ghostly galleon. Galleon means it's a multi-decked ship, okay? Multi-decked sailed ship, okay? Sailing ship. You know what is the sail, no? So there will be many decks, okay? Tossed upon the cloudy seas. The cloud is compared to the seas, and the moon is compared to the ghostly galleon, that is the multi-decked ship. Okay, multi-decked ship is compared here. Which one is compared? The moon is compared, and it is tossed upon the cloudly seas. So the seas are compared like, the cloud is compared like the seas. Okay, you can see the wave movement, no, and the reflection of the moon on the seas. Have you ever imagined, children, have you could see the reflection of the moon on the sea? Okay, sea's water waves. So in the same way, the moon is compared like a ghostly galleon tossed upon the cloudly seas. So the cloud is like a sea, it seems, and the moon is like a ghostly galleon. Okay, this is the comparison done, but here you could see that as and like is not used for the comparison. The fourth poetic device which you're going to learn is called simile. Simile is a common poetic device. The subject of the poem is described by comparing it to another object or subject using as or like. You could see the first example, creeping as quietly as a mouse. Creeping means which grows on the ground, okay, touching the ground, as quietly as a mouse. So the creeper is compared like a mouse which goes very slowly, very quietly. So the mouse also moves very slowly and quietly, right? So in the same way, the creeper is also grows very um, slowly close to the ground, okay, or be sly like a fox. Here you could see that the sly and fox are being compared like using the word like, and creeping. Creepers are compared like the mouse, okay, as the mouse. The poem line which is chosen here as the second example is where the winds like a whetted knife. Here the winds, what is the wind? The wind means it's a strong breeze. So the strong breeze is compared to the whetted knife. Whetted means a sharpened knife. Okay, here the comparison is between the wind and the whetted knife. Okay, here you could see easily that as and like are used for the comparison. The fifth poetic device which we are going to learn is personification. Personification is a poetic device where animals, plants, or even inanimate means lifeless or not alive, objects are given human qualities. You know which are the human qualities now? All the adjective qualities which we are going to use here, resulting in a poem full of imagery and description. So the poem will be full of imaginary. Okay, imagery means there are the things which we imagine. Okay, imagine and using our senses, right? using our senses. All the five senses, that is visual, and then olfactory, then gustatory, and then our kinetic senses, that is the uh, kinesthetic senses. All the five senses, the body movements, this comes under imagery. Okay, here example given is, I spied a small lonely boy. Spied means a person, one who works for a concern or a government, um, who goes and searches for the reason, or collects information secretly. Okay, secretly he collects the information from the enemies or competitors. That is called as a spy. I spied a small lonely boy. I was his beautiful red balloon. So I was his beautiful red balloon. The red balloon is compared, is given as the poet here. From morning through to noon. In this example, the poet is the red balloon. So the red balloon is the lifeless object. Okay, it is said that it is the poet, and the poem continues by describing the boy and the poet as the balloon. Okay, the poet as the balloon. So the poet, the human quality is given to the balloon, which is a lifeless object, which is not alive, sharing a walk through Persian streets. So this is called as personification. The sixth poetic device which we are going to learn is imagery. Imagery, in a literary or poetic sense, is the author's use of description and vivid language. Vivid means very clear, bright language, depending upon the reader's understanding of the work by appealing to the senses. The senses, all the senses of the human body. What are the different types of imagery? First one is visual imagery, which is related to the sights, to the visualization. Okay, which is all about our eyes. Okay, we used to see with our eyes, right? All the visualizing things comes under this visual imagery. So in the poem, depending upon the poet's thought, he will take us into the poem using the sights, all the visualization. Second one is called auditory imagery. Auditory means it's already related to the sounds, perceptive sounds. Third one is kinesthetic imagery or kinesthetic imagery, which is related to the body movements, which is related to the senses, uh, connected to the joints and muscles or body movements. Okay, fourth one is smells and taste. Olfactory means which is related to the nose. Okay, the smelling sense. Or gustatory imagery means which is related to the taste sense. So it is related to the nose and the tongue. Fifth one is tactile imagery, which is related to the texture and feeling, the skin. Okay, the feeling of the skin. So this is all about imagery, which is used in the poem, which is will be used in the poem. All these five senses are used depending about the poet's his thought and imaginary work to create a feeling. All these, using all these five senses. And the last and final poetic devices, onomatopoeia is the formation of a word which describes sound. Example: sizzle, clap, moo, roar, etc. The word itself describes the sound. For example, sizzle means it's a sizzling sound, or the hissing sound, or the burning sound. Okay, sound, that is called as a sizzling sound. Clap, the word clap, when you hear the word clap, it means the clapping sound which it makes. Moo, moo, the cow moves. Roar, the lion roars, the elephant trumpets, etc. Okay, so the sound itself explains, the word itself explains the sound, and we can imagine clearly what is the word about and what is the sound. We can easily imagine it. That is all about onomatopoeia. This is usually used and written in the poem, keeping in mind about the children. Okay, children always likes the sounds, no? So this, the poem is on written by keeping the children in mind, and this onomatopoeia is used as a poetic device in the children's poem. Okay, children, hope you have understood all the poetic devices. Now let me explain to you the poem appreciation, which is given on page 96. All those who have got the textbooks, you can see in the textbook page number 96, or else I will take the photocopy and I will send it to you through WhatsApp. Let us learn the poem appreciation. First one, fill in the blanks with correct rhyming words from the poem. The questions given are sky, knife and rover. Let me show you the poem lines. Dear students, kindly check out for the rhyming words. Yes, sky, by are rhyming words. Life and knife are rhyming words. Rover and over are rhyming words. So I have written the rhyming word sky, by, knife, life, rover, over. Okay. Second one, quote the line that has been repeated in the poem. So in many poems, the poem lines would be repeated. It's called repetition. It is also a poetic device, children. Here the answer is, I must go down to the seas again. Let me show you this line in the poem which has been repeated many times. Now have a look at this, children. Can you all find that I must go down to the seas again have been repeated? No. How many times it has been repeated? Thrice. Yes. The third question, write the poetic device which is used in the line below. And a grey mist on the sea's face. Answer, metaphor is the poetic device. I already explained to you that metaphor is also a comparison between the subject and the object. Okay, the two words which are compared here, but you should not use as or like for comparison. So which are the two words compared here? A grey mist on the sea's face. Okay, these two are compared here. Or fourth one, what poetic device is used for the comparison in the below line? Where the wind's like a whetted knife. Here you could see that simile is the comparison, because easily you can identify the word like which is used in this poem line. So the wind is compared to the whetted knife. அதாவது whetted knifeனா என்னது, கூர்மையான கத்தி போன்றது எதுவாக இருந்துச்சாம், அந்த குளிர்ந்த காற்று. கண்டிப்பாக சீல போகும்போது எப்படி இருக்கும் காற்று, அதுவும் ஆர்டிக் சைட்லலாம் போகும்போது, ஆர்டிக் ஓஷனில் போகும்போது கண்டிப்பாக குளிராக இருக்கும் காற்று. அந்த காற்று வந்து அப்படியே நம்ம ஸ்கின்னை பியர்ஸ் பண்ணிட்டு போகிற மாதிரி இருக்கும். ஸோ தட் இஸ் வாட் இஸ் எக்ஸ்பிளைன்ட் ஹியர் அண்ட் இட் இஸ் கம்பேர்ட் ஹியர். Okay, I hope you all understood the poetic devices and the poem appreciation questions given here. Kindly write the poem appreciation questions and answers in the term 3 classwork. First of all, I told you to write the read the lines and answer the questions. No, I already posted yesterday. So now we are going to write this poem appreciation in your term 3 classwork. Okay, and also learn the poem Sea Fever. It is a memorator, children. Learn all the lines of this poem. Thank you, children, for your patient listening.